Brenner Mills, Minnesota Vikings. Just want to win one before I die.
Lane Cooner, the conductor of the Baker train.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another NFL Top 10 with you boys. Bren hosting as always, and Spoon. Spoon, we had a great Week 15 of football. Great Week 15 of football. We had some big matchups, some good matchups. It was a good weekend. I went to the Vikings game, got to watch them beat down on the Bears. That was great stuff. It was just some great stuff.
I had a lot of fun watching the football games this week.
Yeah.
Lots of fun games. Kept a close eye on the Bills, Lions, and Eagles, Steelers.
I mean, what a game! What a game!
Two great matchups. Honestly, the Bill. At first, I was thinking that it was going to be a blowout. I was like, God dang it, the Bills are fucking. Yeah, they're killing it right now. But
I mean, in my opinion, those type of games I still consider blowouts. If you don't ever have the ball with a chance to take the lead or win the game after middle of the third quarter, that's a blowout to me, regardless of how close you made it in the end. But I know people look at that a little differently. But that's just me.
I'm just going to tell you real quick. The big surprise for me, the Bucs over the Chargers. Holy crap, that was a blowout. That game wasn't even close, dude. I mean, at halftime, I guess it was close. The Chargers were technically up by one, but the next thing you know, 27 points later, here you go. The Bucs are.
But was it really close? It really close? It was close, but was it really close?
No.
I mean, I don't know. I was really impressed with this week's slate of games, but without further ado, let me introduce to you a couple of the honorable mentions in this week's top 10. So, receiving votes, we had the Washington Commanders. We also had the LA Rams, and we also had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, all three of those teams.
The votes from the Bucs. I did.
What was that?
I was to say you can go ahead and take a guess on who put the votes for the Buccaneers up there. That was definitely me.
That was definitely you. Definitely you. We all three had some different teams there in the end of the top 10.
They're all so close. So I get it. It's not
Riley had a team that's in the top 10. You had Tampa Bay. I had the Rams still because the Rams are coming off a win against a division opponent and a win over the Bills. I don't know how you guys didn't have the Rams in your top 10. That was wild to me. They literally just beat the Bills and then go and get a tough division win on the road. I mean, they don't blow out the Niners, but it's a division game. I don't expect blowouts in division games.
I think the Rams beating the Niners by 6 is much less impressive than the Bucs going into LA and beating the Chargers by 23. So that's why I had the Bucs over the Rams this week.
Well, yeah, but you're also coming off a win or a week in which they just beat the Bills in a shootout in a game in which we thought the Rams would lose because of that. So not only did they prove us wrong, but then they also just beat the Bills. I don't know. For me, it's weird. I don't know. For me, it's just weird. And I pulled up the Lions Detroit. We'll talk more about that on the regular podcast that drops on Wednesday. So let me pull the
top 10 up.
Top 10 back up and get that rolling. Right, so I have it in order. Make sure I don't get anything wrong here. The number 10 team in our top 10, the Denver Broncos. They're still winning football games. They're still doing good. Sean Payton still got Bo Nix playing okay. He did have 3 interceptions on Sunday, which isn't great, but he's a rookie. Rookie's going to rookie, right? I'm not going to hold that too much against him just because I don't expect him to be great all the time. I expect him to be a rookie quarterback. And, he's just – when you take a scheme like Sean Payton has and you start – implementing, making the quarterback do more and the scheme doing less, these things tend to happen. And you need a truly great quarterback to be able to take more onto his plate and let the scheme do less. And I have not been quiet about, I do not think Bo Nix is capable of that. And he's certainly not yet. And that remains to be seen if he will one day. But this top 10, I think they're a top 10 football team. 10, 11-ish, so I'm totally good with it. You?
Yeah, no, I had them in my top 10. I did have them over the Rams, over the Chargers. They're just still getting it done. I mean, huge blowout win over the Colts. Definitely solidified themselves trying to get into the playoffs. Big playoff win, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I have them a lot higher in my top 10. Actually, I actually have them all the way up at 6th right now, just because I
Damn,
love
okay.
the defense. Like I'm trying to, I'm just trying to like I give a lot of hate to Bo Nix and Sean Payton on this show,
Yeah.
and because I do hate Sean Payton, I don't hate Bo Nix. I just don't think he's gonna be that good. But I do hate Sean Payton. And I just wanted to let everybody know I do have them at 6. Like they're a good football team. They're winning games. I'm giving them the respect they're due. Like I'm just trying to.
I mean, they are, but
make the bias less
since
hate.
starting out 3-3, I mean, their best win is against what I guess the Falcons would be their best win. If you're looking at their last if you're looking at their last 8 games, they lost to the Ravens. They should have lost that. They lost to the Chiefs. Yeah, they technically shouldn't have lost that one. But I mean, Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts. They're not beating down like good teams.
No, but their defense is playing really well, very consistently.
It is. But that's why like they're definitely a top 10 team, but I just can't.
Yeah.
I don't see like myself putting them any higher yet until they actually beat a team that's worth a shit, I guess.
I mean, that I understand that to an extent, and I don't know. For me, it's teams like I don't even like the Packers. They don't have a super impressive win as of recent, right? Like, but they're still a good football team. I'm not trying to discredit the Packers. They're up in my top 10 too. Spoiler alert. But just they're kind of in that same echelon for me. They lose to the really really good teams, and they usually beat the bad teams, and they usually win some in the middle games. I think the Packers beat Houston. I would say is probably their best. I don't have
the Rams.
When did they beat the Rams though?
Week 5.
Yeah, they didn't have half their defense, Puka or Cup, or they might have had Puka back. But
AJ or not? I'm sorry, so off.
You're good.
Yeah, Jordan Love did because I remember Jordan Love was injured for a few games. I didn't even know if he played that one or not.
Yeah, he played in that one.
Yeah,
but the Rams prior to Week 7 were not the same team they are now. That was kind of when they got. It was going into that. I think it was the Raiders game, that Week 7 Raiders game. The Rams played that they kind of picked it up, and then they got us on a short week. They beat us. They beat the Bills since then. I mean, the Rams are a different team than they were the first half of the season for sure. But all right, enough about other teams. Let's take a look at the number 9 team on our list, the Houston Texans. Houston is, they're winning. Their defense is playing really well right now. Daniil Hunter's popping off. He didn't pop too hard earlier in the season, but I think he's up to 11.5, 12 sacks this season. Joe Mixon is still doing his thing. CJ Stroud is definitely having a sophomore slump in comparison to his rookie year, but that was expected. How often do you get a rookie that sensational that takes another huge leap forward, right? Like, I expected him to kind of plateau. You don't like this?
This team's not in my top 10. So they started out the season super great, going 5-1 in the first 6. They're now 4-4 in their last 8. Best win basically being, I guess, the Dolphins would be their best win. I mean, they beat the Colts, they beat the Cowboys. Awful losses against the Titans. I know that's a division game. I don't really care. They lost to the Jets during that span.
Yeah, that was a bad one. A bad one.
Do not forget that. This team is definitely struggling right now. They're going to make the playoffs. They
already clinched their division. They've already clinched it.
I know. They're not going to make it out of the first round. That's my thing right now. I think right now the Bucs are better than them. I think the Rams are better than them. There's several teams that I think are better than the Houston Texans. I don't think they're in our top 10. I could not disagree with this more. I think the Commanders deserve to be here more than the Texans do.
So I'll give you the hint, or I'll give you the inside scoop. There was a 3-way tie between 9 and 11, and it came down to tiebreakers. And those tiebreakers are as follows: points voted on by us, overall record, then strength of schedule, and then point differential. And in order, it went Houston, Denver, Tampa Bay. So
both
that's how the
teams, I think,
tiebreakers go.
Both of those teams should be over Houston, in my opinion. I get that, and that's fine. But
I'm just giving you the breakdown. All right, next up, number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. A atrocious defense still, but goddamn, Lamar Jackson is him. Goes for 5 touchdowns. I think he had 270 yards passing. like a 120 or a 154.6 passer, almost a perfect passer rating on the day. Just an absolute showing in his case to try to beat out Josh Allen for the MVP, which we'll talk more about on tomorrow's show. But which tune in to find out what we think about that. But I think this is accurate for them. They're a lower half of the top 10 just because that defense is such a liability.
Is this 8 or 7?
This is 8.
Sorry. This is 8. Okay, this is exactly where I had them. Another team kind of similar to what I think of as the Houston Texans. They started out the season strong. They're starting to come back to earth just a little bit, but I still do think that the Ravens, I mean, they're still really good. They're the Ravens. They have Lamar. They have Derrick Henry. They're still putting up a ton of points. They're doing phenomenal, honestly.
If they could stop shooting themselves in the foot, they'd be winning games left and right.
Yeah.
They keep shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. And it's not Lamar, it's the team, It's Deontay Johnson getting mutually released, right? It's their offensive line leading the league in penalties. It's little thing, it's drops. It's, Mark Andrews not playing as well as he should have for the first half of the season. I mean, there's a ton of different things that you could say. But they're shooting themselves in the foot. If they get hot, there is nobody in the NFL that can stop this offense. But that defense is a complete liability, and every game will look like the Buffalo and Detroit game, and they'll have to win it 54-51. So, but that's why they're not in the top 5. They're in the top 10. All right, next up, moving on to next on our list, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They currently lead that division, so they get one spot ahead of Baltimore. They take a little bit of a tumble after last week, jumping down a spot. So, you lose to Philadelphia, who's a top 2 team in the NFL. I don't really hate on it. It was a close game.
Number 1 right now.
Yeah. It was a close game for a lot of the game, and then it got out of hand late. Philly got the ball with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Steelers never saw the ball again. They ran I think it was a 16-play, 10-minute, and 30-second long drive to end the game. Like, it was just crazy. So Philly's just dominant right now. They're peaking right now. So if they can keep that peak through the playoffs, they're going to win a Super Bowl. But that's really hard to do, to carry a peak for 7-8 weeks. That's going to be hard to do.
I mean, I think this is a great time to really start peaking right before the playoffs are about to hit.
Yeah, but I don't think they just started. I think they've been peaking for a week or two now.
I mean, it's still going.
But for 10, carry that 10 weeks. I'm not saying they're not going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that's they are on the edge of too early. Like, you really want to, like the Vikings are the same way, right? Like, the 3 out of the past 4 weeks we've had a 30-point game, and we've been playing really well. I think it's a little early to start that stride. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. But next up on the list,
just letting you know, I did have the Steelers right there above the Ravens as well. Okay. I don't think losing to the Eagles is that much to drop them close to out of the top 10 by any means. This team is still, very good.
Yeah, no, I had them just behind Baltimore. You and Riley both had them over Baltimore.
Head-to-head.
No, I get it. I'm not mad about it. I think if they play it on a neutral field tomorrow, I'm taking Baltimore in that game, and I don't hate you for taking Pittsburgh. I could see it going either way. But next up on the list, sitting at number 6, the Green Bay Packers. They get a pretty dominant win in Seattle. Geno comes out middle of the second quarter, and they stepped on the throat. Sam Howell did not look good in the game, but I mean, it's hard to look good when you come in, against a top 10 team in the NFL, borderline top 5 team, and try to just go out there and start slinging it around and winning football games. It's really hard to do. And it was a close game until the fourth quarter. It was like 23-13. It was, it wasn't crazy out of hand. The Packers got a late pick, get a touchdown off it, make it 30-13. So pretty dominant win all around. I'm not dogging on the Packers by any means by saying it was a close game. I was just, it was I feel like a lot of the time people see like 23-13. They're like, oh, that wasn't that big of a blowout, or it should have been a bigger blowout. Like, I feel like if you control a game and the scoreboard says 23-13, it's only a 10-point victory, I still feel like that's a good win.
Oh no, bro, it was 30-13.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say, and then they got the late touchdown. It's kind of a garbage time touchdown to make it 30-13. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, even without that late touchdown, this was still a dominant win. either
Yeah,
way.
it was
Like,
20-3 at halftime. This
yeah,
game
it
was
was.
never close.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't want it to come off as like it's only a dominant win because I got that final touchdown right at the end. Like that was a garbage time touchdown. It was dominant without that. They didn't need that touchdown for this to be a dominant win. They went in there. They controlled the game. They won outright. So good on them.
Yeah.
Number
I mean,
5.
I
Continue.
was just going to say,
Continue.
back to my point, I've had the Packers in my top 10 for a while now.
Mhm.
Still, their only 4 losses come to teams that are in our top 5. They're doing phenomenal. They're beating down on the teams that they really should be, and they're still barely losing to the teams they shouldn't be. So 6 is perfect for them.
One of the teams they do lose to, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I can't keep them out of 5. I don't know what to do. They're every single week they are at 5 because it's like, man, they're winning, but they're not winning by a whole lot.
I mean, they just had 2 really good dominant victories, like dominant. Like I don't know what more you could ask of these guys.
I don't think the Bears are that good of a team, though.
They're not. But
I told you that the Vikings were going to cover this spread already.
Yeah, you did, and I'm not. But you said they're not winning dominantly, and I don't know how much more.
I'll give them that. That was a pretty dominant win.
But even the week before, it was dominant. Like, I don't know.
Like, what, Kirk Cousins went like 6 weeks without scoring a touchdown?
Yeah, but we still dominated. I'm not saying the competition level was difficult. I'm saying you said we're not dominating the teams when we are. I mean, just so I don't get anything wrong here, because I can be kind of biased sometimes. I'll go strictly off the stats. Okay, Chicago 30-12, Atlanta 42-21. Arizona was a close game. We played terribly in that game, 23-22. Chicago, division opponent, we put up 30. They had that crazy late comeback where they got the onside kick after a garbage time touchdown, 27-30. That one was close. And then the Tennessee game, 23-13. And that was in that Jacksonville, Tennessee stretch where Sam Darnold kind of fluttered for a minute and didn't play that well. Like, I'll be completely honest. Like, that was for me as a fan, like, what are we going to get? Are we getting old Sam Darnold now? Is this what he's going to be? And he's picked it up since then. He did throw the one pick last night, but it was on a 4th down, and he was getting sacked, so he threw it up to where JJ and TJ, they were both in the area, and the defender just came down with it. I wasn't mad about that. They actually lost 5 yards on the pick. If he would have just batted the ball down, he would have gotten an extra 5 yards because it was 4th down. So, I don't know. The past few weeks, we've put up 30 points in 3 of our last 4 games. We took a knee on the 10-yard line in the Arizona game, so we could have scored 30 in that one. I just, like I said, it might be a little too early even to start peaking for us. But
so my thing with the Vikings is this is a good team, Brenner. Y'all have a really good team, okay?
Yeah.
My thing is that I can't move them I'm not moving them down from 5 because obviously they're winning. Like, that would be dumb to move them down.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I feel like I can't move them up because they've won what, 7 straight now?
7 straight.
None of those teams are over 500. Yes, they're winning. I give you that, but none of those teams are over 500. So I just feel like, man, like, they should be winning these games that they are winning. But they're 2-2 against teams that are over 500. One being a team that didn't even make my top 10, which is the Rams. I know that you think they're really good, which they are.
They just beat the Bills, a top 2 team in the NFL,
and that's fine. But they still, like I said, they lost to them. I don't know, man. This Vikings team is just so tough right now for me to grade, just because they haven't played anybody since the Rams. Like, played anybody decent since the Rams, in my opinion. Are they winning? Absolutely.
I'm not trying to say that our it was definitely the first half of the year was our harder stretch of schedule. We went 5-2 in the first half of the year, and that was the tough part of the schedule. You know, Detroit, we lost by 3 to a fully healthy Detroit Lions team.
Yep.
Okay. I fully expect us to go into Detroit and beat them right now because they are banged up, they are hurt, and it took everything they had to scrape out a win fully healthy. So
yeah, losing David
Montgomery
is going to hurt him.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him a lot. And Jahmyr Gibbs is a great running back. Don't get me wrong. He is a phenomenal running back.
But he's only playing 50% of the game.
I was about to say, what they do on offense is they got that thunder and lightning, that Sonic and Knuckles, right? Like, they do that, and that plays so well. And I still think they'll be able to run the ball. I think the offense will be fine overall, but that defense just lost their best D tackle. They're already down both their starting D ends. They're now down one of their middle linebackers. They have the dirtiest safety in the league. Their starting cornerback just broke his jaw. I mean,
Well, let's go ahead and let's move on to the next team.
yep. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
And I
Where did you have them? Did you have them at 4? Because I did have them at 4.
the Kansas City, I have them at 5.
You had them at 5. Okay.
There are
so I don't
4
feel-
teams better than the Kansas City Chiefs. in the
I
NFL.
felt so bad putting them at 4 because I'm like, man, they've only lost 1 game. Am I really
But,
going to put
bro,
4 teams?
Bro,
I know, but listen,
you've seen the video. I showed you the video. These guys
know.
are like 8 plays from having
away from being
8 more losses. From
being like
having
5 and 8.
9 losses.
Yeah.
It's insane the way they're winning games. And they are winning. So that's why we're not taking them out of the top 10. But they're at 5 in mine because there are 4 teams right now better than them in the NFL. And
I
that's,
mean, the
that's
Bills already beat them. I personally think
Yeah.
the Bills would beat them again if they played.
Bills have already beat them. I think the Viking, you're going to disagree with this, but as a whole team, not quarterbacks, the whole team, the Vikings are just as good as the Bills. It shows in like opponents. It shows in point differential, shows in strength of schedule. Everything says they're very similar teams. The Lions are obviously a better team, and Philly is probably the hottest team in the league right now. There are 4 teams, and you could, honest to God, I wouldn't be pissed if somebody put Green Bay over the Chiefs. Wouldn't be pissed.
Wow,
about
and
it.
you hate Green Bay.
And I hate Green Bay. And I wouldn't be
I know
pissed
you
about it. I don't personally believe that, but I
don't
wouldn't
believe
sit there and be like, you know what, you're a fucking moron because you said that. I would be like, you know, if
Because
the Chiefs and the Packers
unfortunately,
play
I
it, I
do
could see the
think that
Packers winning.
Green Bay does tend to play down to their opponents, which I've been seeing this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they'll probably play down to the Chiefs. Chiefs probably win by a field goal. But like you said, I'm saying right now, they play the Eagles, they play the Lions, they play
They're
the
getting
Bills.
rocked.
They're getting rocked, 100%.
So
I completely agree
after
with
this week, they did stomp the Browns, which was good to see out of them. But the Chiefs defense is elite. Mahomes is now hurt with a,
It's
high ankle
does it
sprain.
every year, man.
Yeah,
Every
I know, but that's going to affect the next couple weeks, and Buffalo's going to be hard charging to try to get the 1 seed now. And because before it looked like, you got Kansas City. Their only real tough game left is Pittsburgh. That's 2 weeks out. Pat Mahomes has 2 weeks. They got to skate by 1 week with Carson Wentz. But the number 3 team is the Detroit Lions. Personally, I had them at 4. I think as hurt as they are, they take a loss. I can't give them top 3 right now. I can't do it. Yeah.
3 was as high as I could go.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't give them top 3 because they're so banged up right now.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be giving up points like crazy. We have another member of our show. If you haven't watched the show before, his name's Riley. He's a big Bears fan, and he will. And I looked it up, and the stats back this up. Jared Goff plays terribly at Soldier Field, terribly. So they have the Bears this week. I'm not gonna say they're gonna lose, but it could be a close game against the Bears.
I don't think so.
That I'm saying that for Riley. That's for Riley, not for me. I'm not proclaiming this. I'm giving his perspective on what will happen because I know he would. So, he thinks the Bears should sell their team because they're so bad.
Well, anyway, I had them at 3. I think it's a really good spot for them. I get that they're banged up. Let's see how they come out the next 3 weeks. I mean, if they lose a couple games, then yeah, absolutely, they're going to fall out of the top 5 for sure for me. But I don't know. They've still only lost 2 games. It's tough to take them out. They still, in my opinion, look better than the Chiefs. They played Buffalo much closer than Kansas City did, so that's why I had to keep them at 3.
Yeah, no, like I said, they're off. I said a little bit ago, the Detroit offense is going to be fine. I think they're going to continue to move the ball up and down the field. Ben Johnson's an absolute mastermind. Dan Campbell's the issue here. The 4th and 4 going for it on your half of the field, that kind of thing needs to stop. Like he's got to get that under control. You're going to cost your team a playoff game with that bullshit. And then second of all, your defense isn't good enough to get a stop now. You don't have the defense for it. Okay. What happened? So I'm just going to take a little step back for a second. What happened you know what? No. I'm going to save that for the regular podcast. We're going to talk about the Lions and the Bills on the regular podcast on Wednesday. So tune into that if you want to hear the thoughts on that. For now, we're going to move on to the number 2 team on our list, the Philadelphia Eagles. They are the hottest team in football right now by a mile. They had a pretty resounding win over the Pittsburgh Steelers where they, had a 10-minute drive to end the game on a day where Saquon Barkley was pretty much stuffed. The Pittsburgh Steelers held him to 63 yards, which comparatively to what he's been doing is nothing for a guy who's on pace to break the rushing record before last week. I don't know what he's on pace for now, but going into last week, he was set to go for, I think, 2150 or something like that. So great job by them on defense. But they just started throwing the rock around. They just, as Jalen Hurts said, grass is going to grow where you water it. So they started watering the passing game. And what do you think?
So this is my number 1 team.
Yeah.
Coming from a Cowboys fan, it's tough to put them there. I get it. People are going to be like, why is this team number 1? Look at their last 5 games. They've played 4 tough teams.
Yeah.
And beat them all. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Rams. They beat the Ravens. And then they just beat the Steelers.
Yep.
Those are 4 tough games, and they're continuing their streak. That's why
this is also my number 1 team.
So if it's my number 1 team and your number 1 team, I'm guessing Riley had them low.
Riley had them at 4.
That is wild, bro.
Yeah, I was blown away by it, but hey, this is a democracy, and I don't tell you guys. I tell you guys what I think about your votes, but I don't tell you how to vote, and I don't change your votes. So.
Honestly, it makes sense because whenever I sent you in my top 10, I was expecting you to say something back to me putting the Eagles at number 1, but you didn't say anything. No. You didn't say a single word.
They're the hottest team. They're the hottest team in football right now. How can you not put them at 1? I think Riley's crazy for it.
All right.
It's because Riley's a Josh Allen stan. And
I know. But
right.
Still, at least have the Eagles at like 2 or 3. Like, come on, dude.
He wants to make the Bills look better, so he's got the Chiefs at 2 and Detroit at 3 because he couldn't move Detroit down too far because he had Detroit at 1 before, and he had Philly below. He had
Detroit at 3 still over Buffalo?
No, he has Buffalo, Kansas City, Detroit, Philly, Minnesota.
He had Detroit over the Eagles. What?
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. I wish I could. He's unfortunately he's in the hospital right now. He's having some brain scans done. So we wish him the best. But so he was unable to defend his take. But that's his take, and I'm not gonna shit on him for it just because he's not here to defend himself. But I'll let you guys know. So without further ado, the number 1 team in the NFL right now, according to us, is the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is Superman right now. He's zooming towards an MVP. It's gonna take 3 bad games from him for Lamar to have a chance, and Lamar's having.
He's having a really good season still.
Yeah, he is. So I'll get more into the numbers of this tomorrow on the main podcast. But just to give you a little show, okay? So I went and ran the numbers of the last 10 MVPs, right? Just passing stats because Lamar and Josh Allen are both mobility guys. They're both very easily capable of using their legs in the same. You know what I mean? Like I'm calling that a wash. Like their mobility is a wash. If anything, Lamar may be a little more mobile in a different way, more shifty, that kind of thing. But they're both equally mobile in different ways. As far as just passing stats go, Lamar Jackson ranks higher in every single category amongst the last 10 MVPs over Allen. But what Allen is doing right now and how dominant he is being just on the field it's undeniable. So
I didn't look it up, but it looked like I thought I saw something where Josh Allen hasn't had a turnover in like the last 4 games or something like that, or the last 3.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, Lamar's right there with him, dude. Lamar hasn't had a turnover, and he has 3 all season, and all 3 of them were tipped or dropped passes. Like, none of them were his fault. None of them were throws that he threw that should have been intercepted. They just got tipped up. I've seen it a couple times.
That's what it was. Almost 1,000 yards passing in the last 3 games. No interception.
Yeah, the Bills have 90 points in the past 2 games, 115 in the past 3. Bills are on fire right now. I say Philly's the hottest team because they are, but Buffalo is right there with them. They're 1A and 1B right now. You could put them either way you want. I'm not mad about either one being at the top. I think Philly's just a hair bit better. Yep. But especially,
Josh Allen's still my MVP. He was my MVP.
Josh Allen is.
He was my MVP pick at the beginning of the season. He's still
Redeeming that Joe Burrow pick from last year.
Redeeming it, trying to.
Redeeming that Joe Burrow pick. Joe Burrow was my pick this year again too. And if the Bengals defense wasn't literally the last place defense in the league, I feel like Joe Burrow would be MVP. But that is what it is. But all right, we're gonna do the main podcast on Wednesday. Make sure to check that out tomorrow. Make sure to like, subscribe. We thank you very much. Spoon, you got anything for him?
Nope.
All right, we'll see y'all next time.